Coming up, what an excellent day for uncles. Well, howdy folks, and welcome to Minute 38 of the Exorcist Minute, a show where we endeavor to examine, extrapolate, and excavate the Exorcist minute by terrifying minute. My name is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I'm Keenan Diaz.
And we'll be your holy guides on this journey through what some have called the scariest movie of all time. Okay, so our minute begins with Karras' uncle saying, "Miss."
And it ends with Karras in the middle of a flock of poor lost souls.
Yep, and we're back to being sad again, folks.
We're here to make
again.
You sad.
Yeah.
Folks know.
Yes. We don't want to deal with this alone. We're taking you with us. Yeah. But no, these are the hardest minutes for us to talk about. But let's see what we can find in these minutes. First thing that comes to mind for me is how, remember in the last minute, we talked about the harrowing of hell, where Jesus came down to hell to free everyone. That theme continues on into this minute as they stop at this checkpoint, right? Literally this gate that separates them from the deeper part of this prison. Karras' uncle is talking to the nurse. They want to see Mary Karras, and Dimmy, has walked ahead a little bit to stand at the window at the bars of this gate and to look in. And we cut to the nurse as she reaches up to grab literally what looks like this ancient ring of keys, straight out of like Dante's Inferno or maybe like Milton's Paradise Lost or something.
It looks like the kind of thing you'd get in Robin Hood days.
Right, yeah.
You're trying to get this, that's the set of keys to get Maid Marian out of the prison cell.
Exactly, precisely, right? And you hook up a little pulley system. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so she then signs them in, and we cut to Karras, wide-eyed. But he's not shocked. I don't know what you would call this emotion. He's in shock, maybe. His eyes are big. They're taking it all in. And it struck me this time around, this expression he has. Remember before, folks, we were talking about whenever the feelings are coming really strong, Karras has this mask that he wears, right? This sort of hard, stone-faced, serious mask that he puts on during these like really emotional moments. We saw it when he was walking down the street to his mother's apartment. We saw it when he was leaving her home, walking through the rooms, turning off all the lights. We even saw it when we first really meet him on that subway platform, right? It's this mask that he's fashioned to protect himself from these heavy emotions which perhaps he thinks if he allowed himself to feel them fully, he would be burnt up by their sheer ferocity, right?
Yeah. I've caught myself, I used to think of myself as a very cold person, and I suppose I still do. But I used to, like when I was running a Target, I was assistant manager at a Target, and sometimes you would sort of rotate, and sometimes you'd be running the whole store, and there'd be like chaotic things, like the power going off in a gigantic store like a Target, and I'd put on this, this mask like this, right? This thing that maybe I think a very good crisis manager at a place like that. You'd have someone have a seizure in the middle of the floor, you have to figure those things out. And then I would realize that I was doing the same thing in my personal life, during arguments or discussions with your partner, or your boyfriend or your girlfriend. And they go, that's not as helpful here.
So like we can put this mask on for crises coming from the outside, but like also we have a habit of putting them on like if we're in our own crisis, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it got to be the point where I would realize you can feel yourself doing it, right? You're like, oh gosh, this is not helpful. This is not helpful, but I don't know how to get out of this. How to lower this Colossus, or Colossus like the X-Man. The metal Colossus, he gets Colossused up. It's like, that's not helpful here when I'm talking to my girlfriend. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Like our feelings, like they're, if we're familiar and they're habitual, right? Like, it's very, very hard to break those habits, right? But yeah, it makes me think about so these strong feelings that Karras is having, right? It makes me think about the line about Chris from the book where Blighty says she could not repress the full flood of her love. And here, up to this point, we've had Karras doing the opposite, right? He's trying to repress it because he knows if he lets it flow, he's going to be swept away, which is such a weird thing to think, because isn't that what we decided the problem was for Karras in the first place? He's worried that he doesn't feel these strong emotions. He's worried that he can't feel that love, that connection with the homeless man or with his mother, or later we're going to see when he prays, that's his big thing. He thinks he's a bad priest, a bad person for not feeling anything. But folks, listeners, look at him now. Look at him now as he looks through this chicken wire.
Right.
Look at this face, look at his eyes and tell me he's not feeling some things right now. That mask. Yeah, that mask is beginning to crack.
Well, maybe that's the filmmakers. Again, you're talking about the magic trick that filmmaking does through the editing. And is he thinking any of those things, Lester? Or are you just projecting upon him?
Oh, wow. Yes. Yeah, folks, in the last episode, we did talk about that magic trick of like projection onto, maybe I'm doing that right now. Oh
isn't he just looking at stuff?
He could just be looking at stuff, right?
No, but that's the great power of film acting. And sometimes you just have to look and think and listen, and then that's all it takes. I was thinking about Frances McDormand. I don't know if you've seen some of her later movies where she's won her Oscars, but the Frances McDormand has won an Oscar for Fargo, which is one of my favorite performances. It's very verbal, and then she wins another Oscar for 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, which is another very verbal performance. And then she won her 3rd Oscar for Nomadland, and it's such a different performance because in there she doesn't speak a lot. She's just thinking and listening, and mostly it's these other people coming to her and listening. And she wins her 3rd Oscar for there, and it's just like you're thinking about everything that she's thinking, but she doesn't get a chance to say any of it. So yeah, Karras here is just looking at these things, and we're just responding like, oh God, all the things he must be feeling and all the things he must be thinking.
Oh my gosh, you are exactly right. Yeah. I already have this kind of internalized idea of what Karras must be feeling. And all we got to do is put Karras's face right there on that camera, and we can empathize, right? And so at least the way that I'm seeing it, folks, that mask that Karras usually has is beginning to crack, and we're seeing the beginnings of some really strong emotions. And this made me realize something, Keenan. I never thought about this until now. And that's wild to think, right? I know this story. I read the book every Halloween. I've seen this movie, but this minute by minute examination is forcing me to look even deeper, to dig even deeper. And each time we do this, I find another little metaphorical Joseph medallion, right? Or sometimes a Pazuzu amulet that, that was buried and I didn't know about it, even if it was hiding in plain sight. And here, I think I've uncovered something more about Karras's problem. His problem of thinking he doesn't feel enough. And I'm looking at this guy through this chicken wire as his mask is starting to crack. And now I'm thinking, oh, buddy, it's not that you don't feel enough. It's that you feel too much. That mask is a conscious thing you put up. It's a blockage. It's a dam to hold back what are actually some really strong emotions, right? This whole time, I thought his problem was that he felt bad for not having these feelings. And now I'm seeing that maybe what's really happening, whether he's conscious of it or not, or whether I'm projecting this, onto this character or not, is that he's afraid of the strength of his own feelings, right? He's
absolutely right. So it might be what that strength is, depending on how you interpret the end of the film. It might be the strength of his faith is too strong, so strong that it destroys. However you're gonna however you're gonna interpret that, it's a positive way or whatever. But he has all this strength he doesn't recognize. He thinks of himself as this person who's strong as a boxer, as an athlete, but strong, but not strong enough in his heart. And he realizes how strong all of that really is.
Right. So from Karras's face, we then cut to a heartbreaking series of images of Keenan. These are actors, right?
They are certainly actors.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
There's one of these ladies who I recognize, and I can't quite place where I recognize. Oh, I just realized where it's from, and I need to double check.
Okay.
I need to double check where she's from. Okay. But the second lady that he looks at, there's a blonde lady first, and then a brunette lady.
Right.
Okay. I believe I know where this lady is from. I think that she is from Annie Hall.
Oh.
I think that this is Woody Allen's mother from Annie Hall.
Oh.
I will double check that while we're looking. But yes, not real people, I don't believe.
Thank God. Because Keenan and folks, knowing Friedkin, knowing his propensity to use real people in his movies, like knowing his obsession to fly all the way out to Iraq to film a real dig that was already going on. And yeah, folks, I'm watching this this new documentary, Leap of Faith, about the Exorcist, and it's a comment. Friedkin is doing a commentary about the filming, and apparently that dig in the beginning, remember all those minutes ago, that was real, or right. Parts of it were real, and Friedkin just showed up and he started filming according to this new documentary. Knowing all that, I was really hoping you were going to say, no, Lester, these are all actors. Friedkin did not go into Belleview Hospital and start filming random patients.
I believe so. So okay. I believe that this woman in the second patient, the brunette, is an actor. But okay. Oh goodness, I don't know. Oh. But she certainly looks a lot like the woman who plays Alvy's mother in Annie Hall. But okay. I don't see that as being confirmed. But I'll share a link with you later and see if you agree with me. Yeah, and we will like once we are fully educated, we will update you guys. Or if you happen to know who these people are, please let us know. But yeah, if they are actors, they are really good at making me feel really bad. Oh, good. That's what we need. That's what Friedkin's like in the casting call. He's like, what I really need you to do here, ladies, is to make people feel real bad. Yeah. And this made me realize something as well. This is another little discovery that I never had until now. This is another little artifact, although I think this one is a Pazuzu. And how to say it without sounding heartless or insensitive. I'm going to try to speak my honest thought here. Great. But I think now I understand better why ghosts scare me. And it took these lingering shots of these poor women for it to make sense in my mind. I remember I said, like in the Halloween episode, that like my biggest fear is ghosts, but it's less about what they would do to me and more about what they are or what they have become, and how it's because they're not scary, but more just lost, that really hits me. There's a kinship we have with ghosts more than other monsters, right? Because they were once just like you. And so the feeling we have about ghosts is this unique mixture of fear and empathy that I don't get with like other monsters. Ghosts themselves aren't scary. Whatever happened to them is scary, or what is happening to them, right? Seeing a fellow human being, seeing someone who was once just like you, seeing them changed in this way, they're literally shades of their former self, and how horribly sad that, and terrifying that is, right? Psychologists say like fear of ghosts has to do with like death anxiety, death anxiety, being afraid of death, right? Death is the great equalizer. It comes to us all, and it will, right? It can happen to us. It will happen to us. It'll happen to our mothers, our fathers, our wives, our husbands. It's the thing we all have in common, right? And so psychologists say, oh, ghosts are scary because they're a reminder of that. But I want to make a correction to that. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not, anything. So this is just me. But we don't even have to talk about death. Forget death for just a second, right? I think ghosts touch a very specific nerve between fear and empathy whenever we witness the unfortunate state of a fellow human being, someone who could be our mother, our brother, ourselves. It's like looking into a mirror, and I'm thinking now of the subway platform where Karras meets the homeless man, Vinnie Russell, right? As sad as that scene is, it has this edge of fear to it, and that's specifically because the homeless man is a person, just like Karras. If Karras saw a homeless cat, it'd be a completely different scene, right? With different feelings. Or if you are walking home alone, right? You're home alone at night. You're walking home alone at night, and you cross under a bridge, and there's a man under there, and he looks like Vinnie Russell, and he's reaching out for help, right? The light of a passing car shows his face for a second, and you think it's your dad. And of course, we want to believe we'll help him. We'll help anybody in that situation. We're human beings, and we help other human beings. But I think it's because it's another human being, like just like you. There's something about that gives us the shivers. Versus, you're walking down the same street at night. You go under the same bridge. It's dark, and you hear,
meow. Now my flashlight is on. I'm looking for that cat. I'm taking it home, taking it to the vet. I'm giving it a bath. I'm wrapping it up in a little fleece blanket. No question, no hesitation. There's no fear because, the association is gone.
Right?
And
I don't know. And people, there's a big homeless problem across the country, obviously, right now, homelessness problem. And I think people are more inclined to help that cat right now. And I'm a big cat I have 4 cats.
Yeah.
So I've taken four cats into my life. And but I have made a little pact with myself to not give money to pet charities or animal charities. Have I told you about this?
No.
It's just that I think it's better. Maybe this is kind of the hubris about being a human, that it's better to give money to people charities. And there's always I caught myself being more willing to give money to animal charities.
Right.
And I was like, well, why is that? Why am I more willing to give to a pet shelter than a human shelter? And I recognize it. So, you do what you're going to do with your own money, and giving to any charity is better than giving to no charity in your own life.
Right.
But I was deciding for myself that there was something kind of wrong with me, that I was more willing to help animals than people.
Yeah. And I think I wouldn't necessarily call it wrong. I think it's like a natural, I don't know. I don't understand this feeling either, but I have that same kind of feeling of if I see a cat in trouble, no hesitation, I'm helping.
Right.
Or a dog or something like that. Like if I see an animal in trouble, or a child, right? Like if I see a child or an animal in trouble, I am climbing that tree. I am fighting that bear. I am doing whatever, and possibly losing my life, but whatever, who cares, right? I'm running out into traffic, to save that child or that animal. But a person just like me is, I don't know what Freud would say about that, or what, it's so weird. But I don't think you're alone in that feeling, Keenan.
Yeah, that's really interesting, though, that it scares us more to recognize that them as people, even maybe. That's very, very interesting. I have to think about that.
Yeah, right. So we're all. I gave you guys some homework. We're all going to have a long think about ourselves.
Hard conversation with yourselves. Yeah. Well, thinking about Karras as he's looking at these people, right? I think it's really great. You're talking about that his coverage is him with chicken wire. This pattern, right? Really interesting. So when you look at the shots of what he sees, we see these patients, but it's not through this chicken wire.
Yeah.
It's a different design. So when we see this blonde woman, it's more, how do you describe that? Like a diamond shape or something.
Yeah.
So his is hexagonal, is that right? Yeah, his is hexagonal, and hers is more diamond shaped. So a couple things. So are we meant to think that that they're both behind different cages, right? It gives this idea that there's layers between them.
Double cages,
even more. And, there's also this sort of just disconnect between what we see on his side and what we see on her side. It doesn't visually compute for us necessarily.
Right.
Yeah. So again, these are not, I believe these are actors. I can't speak for that for everybody. I'd love to see that documented. But I do know for a fact that this is not shot at Bellevue Hospital for real.
Oh.
Yes, this is shot at a different place that is on Roosevelt Island. So it's not even on Manhattan. They're sort of going off the coast of Manhattan. It's shot at what was then known as Goldwater Memorial Hospital. So we're not really at Bellevue. I'm not sure about the history of how feasible it was to shoot at the real Bellevue. But because of its place in New York cultural history, we usually are talking about Bellevue a lot in movies. It comes up a whole lot. I also have seen that these scenes with the uncle in the hallway are the first things that we shot in The Exorcist.
Right. Yes, I saw that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd love to have more confirmation of that, but this would be the very first thing that we've shot is Damien and the uncle. Which is
very, very interesting. A little bit of trivia there. I saw it on the Amazon X-ray. I don't know where.
Okay, great.
Where it popped up for you.
Yeah, I can't remember now because I'm not that good as a professor. I read things. I never write it down. I never outline like you're supposed to, and have little notes about where you discovered the thing. I just hope I remember it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that we got it from multiple sources, right, kind of further moves it towards possibly being true. Yeah.
Oftentimes there's advice. I don't know about how true this was at studio filmmaking in the 70s, but in indie filmmaking, and the advice they give you a lot is the first thing that you shoot, if you're able to figure it out, it's something that's very simple, like at least in the production wise. The performance wise, they always leave that, right? But like in the production wise, because the thought is like, as you're getting the crew together for the first time, you want to succeed very quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. So you don't want it to be like, oh God, it's been taking us all day to do this. Right. Like it's a good morale builder to have the very first shot that you film to be something that, oh, great. Wham, bam. Thank you, ma'am. We're done.
Yeah. All right, everybody, get Reagan in the bed. We're going to do the exorcism scene. Power of Christ compels you. Take one.
Yeah. You hear about some indie filmmakers and the mistakes they make. Yeah, putting something crazy like that at the beginning, or something. Again, there's good emotional acting here, but it's not something so insane that you would expect Jason Miller to do. Maybe even like a scene with his mother first. That would be way too hard, right? So we have the uncle.
Yeah. So we're not asking Jason Miller or Titos to like do something like incredibly emotionally fraught.
Yeah, on the first day with basically a new company. Like every time that you're making a movie, you're working at a new company, right? With new coworkers, and you don't know where the bathroom is, and you're not sure if you're getting paid, right? Yeah. All those things on the very first day.
Yeah, and that's something to say. I mean, like I'm sure our listeners know about this as well, right? But like a lot of times, like with films being shot out of order, right? Mm-hmm. Some of those like really meaningful scenes where it's like, oh, now these two characters have a history and they've been together for the whole movie. Mm-hmm. That might be shot before that history is established, right?
I think it's always useful to remind people of that movies are shot out of order. It's the rare instance, like I don't know, a few dozen movies that have been shot in order, whereas the rest of the thousands of movies that you've seen are shot out of order.
Yeah.
So I think it's really useful to remind people of that. I teach film students or beginning filmmakers, and oftentimes that, even if they intellectually know that, right, you have to remind them when they're making films to do that. And you often even hear people who know better, like film critics. There's a pet peeve of mine is when in a review, it'll say, the movie loses steam halfway through, which happens, but they might say as if the filmmakers gave up halfway through, which isn't how it works. Yeah. Like you've heard that line all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, they were just making it up as they went along. At the end, they gave up. Like that's like movies aren't shot in order. They're not even written in order. Right. So most times screenwriters don't start on page 1 and end on page 120. They right. That's not how it works. But so even people who know better often fall into that. That trope, that movies are not shot out in order, or the movies that are shot in order. Sorry,
I've heard that complaint many and many a time before, but it not until today did I put it together. I was like, wait, hang on, like
that's impossible.
Like, don't you know how movies are made? Like,
right? Yeah, movies are not edited in order. They're not shot in order. They're not written in order. So,
wow, ay, folks, Keenan Diaz coming at us with these information bombs right here. Yeah.
Here to blow your minds.
Yeah.
With stuff you already know.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So we have Karras looking through this chicken wire, like we said, right? And he's looking at all these women. And again, it's the association or dissociation, right? Like, if Karras didn't have his mother in here, how would he be viewing all of these other patients? Mm-hmm. But the fact that his mother is also one of them, right? That makes this encounter, makes this visitation so much more emotionally impactful, right? And so much more personal, right? And he's looking, and we can only, like Keenan said, right? We can only imagine what is going through Karras's mind as he's looking through this window, right? But then he is brought out of these thoughts when his uncle says, it's funny, and then proceeds to say the least funny thing he could possibly say.
I love that line that he says, it's funny. I love it. I'm so glad that's there. That's great.
Oh my God. Uncle Titos. Like, and so he says, right? If you wasn't a priest, you'd be famous psychiatrist now on Park Avenue, and your mother, she'd be living in a penthouse instead of... And he indicates this awful scene that Karras is clearly disturbed by.
You got to add a rim shot there because it's funny.
Yeah, right.
Bum.
He's like he grabs Karras's arm. He's like, "It's a joke. It's funny. It's funny. Like,
why you never laugh no more?
Let me explain the joke. You did this to her. Yeah.
Don't you get it? You did it to her, Dimmy. Why you do it to her, Dimmy?
Why you do this to her, Dimmy? It's funny. Laugh." God.
I love that line. I think it's the kind of things, again, uncles
Yeah.
is for. What are uncles for?
Yeah. So we talk about Burke having no filter. God,
Yeah, great
this
line.
guy, right?
Glad he gets it.
Yeah, glad he gets it, right? Like I know before we were comparing Karras to Rocky, right? Uncle Tito or Titos? Right?
Well, the actor's name is Titos, so I imagine
Titos,
that he's Tito.
right? Yeah. So Uncle Titos definitely fills in for the Paulie character, don't you think? Like, just not helpful at all, but at the same time has these random, like, inappropriate reflections.
Like when in Rocky, when Paulie tells him some terrible news, and then Rocky starts beating up that side of ham or that side of beef, and he's just punching in there. Rocky's like punching the shit out of this side of beef because he's so mad at Paulie, and Paulie says, "You're gonna break the ribs."
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna get me in trouble for letting you punch this beef.
Yeah. I would say again, going back to, I know this isn't the movie we're talking about, but like, I always saw like, because it's a close up on Paulie's face, right?
Exactly.
There, right? And I always saw like that as like Paulie realizing that he fucked up.
Right, exactly.
And he's like, oh, he's punching the meat because he can't punch me.
Yeah, Paulie does not have a lot of self-revelatory moments where he realizes things. It's only like once or twice in the whole movie where you're like, oh, Paulie, you've done it again.
Paulie, right? But yeah, so now we got Uncle Paulie here to to Karras' Rocky. So, but I think this is also a good time to talk about this actor. So Keenan, you know about this guy?
A little bit. So this actor is Titos Shavandi. So it's Titos. So I think it's Titos in Greek, but I'm not sure. Yeah. So that's why we've been calling him Uncle Titos, because we don't have a name for him either in the script or the movie.
Yeah. But even in the book, I don't think he's named.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So he is a Greek actor, and he plays in a bunch of American movies, playing Greek characters. It seems like the bridge for him coming from Greek film into American film is this movie called Never on Sunday, which we talked about earlier, actually, when we were talking about subtitles. Because that's a movie where, the director who plays the main actor, Jules Dassin, he's in Greece, and there's no subtitles in the entire movie. Yeah, so they have... so you just have to, the movie makes clear when you're supposed to know that he doesn't know what's going on or not.
Yeah.
I guess if you know Greek, it's just a different movie for you.
Yeah.
And then, so he's in a bunch of other Greek movies where he plays a Greek man, basically, like Topkapi, which is a heist movie. But his most famous role is in one of the funniest sketches I've ever seen that I don't know if you've seen. It's from Woody Allen's Everything You Always Want to Know About Sex, We're Afraid to Ask. Have you seen that movie?
No.
Okay. So I guess it's not correct anymore to recommend that you see a Woody Allen film, because he's been sort of banned. But you could watch this sketch, and there's no Woody Allen in it. It's just directed and written by Woody Allen.
There we go. Woody Allen free.
I found that actually with some students. I think that when Woody Allen is not in the movie, students are able to, get past that a little bit better.
Yeah.
So anyways, he is in this scene from Everything You Always Want to Know About Sex, asterisk, but we're afraid to ask. And this is a movie that's based on a real nonfiction book that was like, it was something that I read as a kid. It was sort of aimed at people who, in the 1960s, who didn't know where to talk to, and they couldn't have these conversations with their doctors. So it's a complete nonfiction book that's like, what is homosexuality? What is masturbation? What happens in ejaculation? So Woody Allen adapts this, and in the sketch, so it's a bunch of little sketches that are unrelated to each other. Sketch number 2 is called "What is Sodomy?" And it stars Titos Vandis as this man who comes into the doctor's office, and the doctor is played by Gene Wilder.
Oh,
yes. And so Titos comes in and says, I have this problem. I've fallen in love with a sheep. I'm an Armenian, shepherd, and I've fallen in love with my sheep, Daisy. And so Gene Wilder is just freaking out. He's like, I can't help you. This is beyond my capacity as a general practitioner. And I don't know what you want to do with this. And he says, no. I've fallen in love with Daisy, my sheep. And the problem is, because it's not a problem that I fall in love with her. The problem is that Daisy has fallen out of love with me. And so he brings Daisy in, and I don't know if you know what the twist of this would be.
No, I don't.
I don't know
but
if
I'm
I
excited.
should. I don't know if I should stop there or not. But so that's Tito's big scene as he brings in Daisy, and then Gene Wilder is petting Daisy and says, "Well, this is quite a problem that you fall in love with Daisy, but maybe you should leave Daisy with me."
Oh, I was okay. Can I guess?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, just for the record, before you started talking about that, I'm like, okay, this is Gene Wilder.
Uh-huh.
Is he going to steal Daisy?
He steals Daisy away. He's like, I need you to leave Daisy with me, and so I could talk to her so that she'll fall in love with you instead.
Oh.
And so Gene Wilder has the affair with Daisy, which is just okay. Just again, don't do this. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
It's awful.
Yeah.
But it is, I think,
Bestiality,
one of the funniest.
no.
Yeah, I think it's one of the funniest sketches because then you have, for the rest of the little short movie, like Gene Wilder taking Daisy out and hiding it from his wife, and it's basically like the whole movie as if Gene Wilder is hiding this affair with this other woman, but it's with Daisy,
right.
who he dresses up in little dresses and takes her out to restaurants and stuff like that. So that's Tito Schwandis' biggest role in a movie. Yeah.
Oh,
sure.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now I got to see that.
Yes. Again,
what's the name of that again?
Everything You Always Want to Know About Sex, asterisks, but we're afraid to ask.
Okay.
If you're avoiding Woody Allen movies, I understand that, but
yeah. Maybe I'll look up that one on YouTube. I'm sure it's there.
Right, because that's our guy. That's the year before The Exorcist. That's where Uncle Tito was.
Because Woody Allen aside, I love me some Gene Wilder, and I love Titos. So
yeah, I love him now. That's his biggest role. Yeah, and there you got your good Gene Wilder, prime Gene Wilder, post Willy Wonka and before Young Frankenstein and before Blazing Saddles. So
it's perfect time.
Post producers. So he's in that sweet spot.
Excellent. Oh boy, yeah. But So we're back with Uncle Titos as he is making this very, very inappropriate reflection.
Hysterical. It's so funny,
right? Oh my god. Just his hand on Karras' shoulder is like, let me explain it to you one more time. This is all your fault.
Uncle Titos, you said it 7 times on the walk up from the curb. Yes. But that 8th time, that's when it's going to be funny.
Oh, my God. But, okay. He doesn't have to finish this reflection because the nurse steps in between them and she opens the door. And now we're back to Dante again, where Karras must go deeper into this hell, right? But his guide, right, his Virgil, right, Uncle Titos in this case, says he has to do it alone,
right?
And again, isolation. That's one of the themes, right? And so we're back to isolation here, folks. Karras is alone. He is making this final part of this dark journey alone, even as he is surrounded. As we see in just a second, he is very much alone. We say goodbye to Uncle Titos as the camera moves past him and follows Karras into this final room. The nurse says he will find Mrs. Karras in the last bed on the left, and almost immediately we are set upon by these poor lost souls as they reach out to Karras, and it's here that we end our minute with Karras, very much like Christ in the story of the harrowing of hell, right? As he is reaching out to these poor souls, is he strong enough to take away their pain? Is he selfless enough to help them? We'll have to wait until the next minute to find out. Keenan, is there anything else?
Oh, yeah. I like here how we follow behind Damien as he's going in, and the nurse there doesn't it feel like she's kind of not sure if she should touch Damien, right? It's like you want to put your hand on his shoulder, and she's not quite sure, like what does this man want or need? Is it appropriate, right? I wonder if she knows. It doesn't seem like it, right? That she doesn't know he's a doctor as well, right? They've kept that from them,
right?
What do you think about that? Like, are they keeping it from like this is my nephew? He's a doctor, like is that going to cause problems as they go into this ward?
Oh, I wonder, right? So we're talking about like the conscious decision that Uncle Titos does not mention that he's a doctor.
Right, because think about that, right? Like when you visit a school, right? If you visit someone else's school, do you tell them, like you decide whether you say, oh, I'm a teacher too, or not? Because sometimes you don't want to be known as a teacher in another school, right?
Because your interaction with the the people in that place,
Right.
depending on the place and depending on, like your job or whatever. It could be very different depending on like whether or not they know that you are, a doctor or a teacher or something. Yeah.
Like when you see another comedian set and you tell them, oh, I'm a comedian too.
I'm a comedian too. Yeah.
Like my Uncle Titos taught me everything I knew about comedy.
Yeah. Cut to 10 minutes later and you're up there. It's like, I killed my mother.
Right. Which is funny because I'm a doctor.
Yes. And everyone is just dead silent. And then in the back, Uncle Tito, she's like,
right. I should have known better.
It's my fault. It's just Uncle Titos and Pazuzu. They're like, yeah.
Right. But so they haven't told the people here, and they're not going to tell the other patients, right? I'm a doctor.
Right.
I'm a psychiatrist, right? Because that might spook them, or it might make them do what ends up happening anyways, where they come and see him as their savior, right? Oh,
right.
This is the doctor. He's going to be better than the doctor I have. I need to talk to him, right? He's going to give me some second opinion. Yeah. Right. So we follow behind, and the nurse is like, oh, I don't know what to do. You're a priest. Do I touch you? Do I not touch you? And he doesn't say like, oh, I have my bag here to give medicine if I need to.
Right. And I mean, I kind of like, I didn't even, thank you for bringing these up. I didn't even think about like them. It must have been a conscious thing to not mention that he's a doctor. Right. And I thought like if I had to really think about it, I would was like, well, he's coming to see his mother. Right. So that's like his being the son or a son to this lady is like at the forefront. It's the most important thing. Like that is the relationship that I am bringing into this room, to see this person. Maybe that's why like they didn't mention doctor. They didn't even mention priest, right? But like he's dressed as a priest, right? Yeah. So he's wearing his priest clothes when he goes in here. So already like that's a common thing we see in in how like priests visiting hospital wards and hospital rooms and stuff like that, right? So I don't know, like maybe he didn't want that association when he was going to see his mother. But then, like, why wear the priest clothes? Like, what? Like, unless like maybe that's going to get you in easier. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a question, right? Like, when do you use that privilege or not? And they decided not to. I also think at some place like Bellevue, which is I don't know the history enough of the real Bellevue of whether it's like, why is it so poorly portrayed in culture? I don't know if it's because it was particularly a bad place. I don't believe so, but I could be wrong. I think that it was just the psychiatric hospital in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was overwhelmed. There was a lot of people there, and there was a sort of fear that people had of being sent to Bellevue. Yeah. So I'm sure part of it is how overwhelmed it was and how there weren't enough spots, but like the fear of it is so big because that was like this shorthand, and you would see that shorthand in the movies, right? You'd see like a police officer in a movie saying, if you don't wise up and give me what I want, I'm going to send you to Bellevue, and the perp being so scared of that, right?
It was a name that kind of like it was a name that was famous just like in and of itself, right?
Like Sing Sing in New York. Sing Sing is the prison upstate at Ossining, and then there's Bellevue, right?
Or Alcatraz,
right? Yeah, we're going to send you to the Rock.
Yeah, or hey, like Gehenna, right?
Yeah, we're going to send you to Gehenna. Exactly, yeah. So I don't know if potentially like Damien not wanting to name himself as a doctor at Bellevue, because maybe that's something to do with like how poor of a reputation Bellevue has. Like if I come in as a doctor, then the thought might be that I'm judging your terrible conditions, Right.
And then, that might be like a thing. It's like, oh, doctor, we gotta like, have everything above boards, and we gotta keep secrets, we gotta hide, we gotta sweep some stuff under the rug. Right.
But no, I just need to see what this is as a son. Right.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Whew. Yeah. Some heavy stuff here, folks. But I think that is it for our minute. Is there anything we missed, Keenan?
No, I think we got it.
All right. So, yes. Also, folks, we do have a listener group now for the show on Facebook. It's called Compelling Conversations, an Exorcist Minute listener group. It's a private group, but just request to join, and we'll let you in, and then you can be in here with us, and you can talk about the movie and interact with us and fellow fans, post questions, polls, memes, Captain Howdy cereal box art. Just saying, whatever. And of course, as always, if you'd like to leave us a message, our email is theexorcistminute@gmail.com. lookin@gmail.com, all one word, and we'll be sure to read it. Lastly, if you like the show and you want to help us out, the best thing you can do for a new podcast that's just starting out is to leave us a nice 5-star review, and that'll help other people find us, and we can keep growing this cool community. So, Keenan, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think I am, Lester.
Folks, until next time, the power of Uncle Titos compels you. You're a terrible son.
You know, it's funny. The Earth is warming to 2 degrees centigrade.